This has been a terrible Sunday for Donald Trump, but frankly for the entire United States, as we're seeing the ramifications of Donald Trump's military strikes in Iran. Here's the response from Iran's ministers. America must receive a response for their aggression. Essentially went it alone. We're learning that the Fordow nuclear site was not even entirely destroyed. It appears to have been damaged, but again, not entirely destroyed.
Donald Trump called the military strike on Iran a stroke of genius. But what if it was anything but? The Fordow nuclear site still stands. Iran is ramping up threats, and now China and Russia are jumping into the chaos. How did one attack set off a chain reaction that's unraveling global stability? The real question is, what happens next? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. When Trump signed off on the strike to hit Iran's Fordow nuclear facility, he probably pictured himself chest deep in praise, crowned as the hero who took a bold stance. In reality, let's just say that scene played out a little differently. Fordow wasn't wiped off the map. In fact, it wasn't even fully incapacitated. Reports say the site sustained damage, but remained operational, which is like punching a hole in someone's car tire, only for them to somehow drive off faster. Far from crippling Iran's nuclear ambitions, the strike gave them a new reason to double down, and they didn't do it quietly.
Our top threat assessment within the United States government is that the United States now faces a heightened terrorism threat, as France, the United States, is now ordering family and non-emergency government personnel to leave Lebanon immediately. A result, the Iranian foreign minister, Araghchi, is planning on visiting Moscow on Monday to meet with Vladimir Putin. This was reported by NBC First.
Within hours, Iranian officials lit up every available microphone with outrage. Tehran accused Trump of reckless aggression and announced the country would be ramping up uranium enrichment, sidestepping the kind of discretion you'd hope for when someone's toying with nuclear capabilities. Then there was Iran's foreign minister, who hopped on the phone with Moscow faster than you'd order takeout after a failed home-cooked meal. The image of them strategizing together is like two neighbors bonding over plans to get revenge on the guy who ruined their lawns, and you don't need to squint to see the parallels. Meanwhile, back in the US, intelligence analysts were probably breaking pencils in frustration. Threat assessment agencies warned of a domestic terror threat spike in the aftermath of the strike. Apparently, when you provoke countries already simmering with tension, chaos doesn't stay in one corner of the world. It goes everywhere, like glitter from preschool art class. You can imagine how thrilled Homeland Security must have been about that.
He plans to travel to Moscow on Monday to meet with Putin to discuss how they can be jointly responding to the United States attack on the nuclear sites. The actions of the U.S. seriously violate the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and international law. That's what China put out in a statement. Have to pass through when they're traveling with all of the oil, all of it, from the Middle East. You shut down the Hormuz Strait, the Strait of Hormuz, and oil becomes essentially inaccessible and unaffordable.
The backlash wasn't limited to Iran, though. When China jumped into the mix, their outrage was less about nuclear weapons and more about broken rules. They called Trump's strike a violation of international law, which, coming from China, feels like getting a lecture on public decency from the guy who sneezed on your sandwich. But it's not the humor in their statement worth noting. It's the domino effect their stance sets off globally. So there we are. Fordow's still standing. Iran's furious. China's upset. Terrorism threats are rising, and Trump's allies? Quiet as mice tiptoeing past a rattlesnake. But hold on, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
It was reported that the top security body in Iran is now making the final call after Parliament approved it. There was then a wrinkle on that it wasn't a formal approval by the Parliament. Last week we were in negotiations with the US when Israel decided to blow up that diplomacy. This week we held talks with the E3 and EU when the US decided to blow up that diplomacy. Here's what we're hearing from as well from Russia. Russia's former president and prime minister Medvedev put out the following statement.
Turns out, the fallout doesn't stop with a damaged nuclear site. It turns out, when you botch a military strike and leave a nuclear facility intact, it does more than annoy the target. It fires up their friends, too. While Iran wasted no time thumping its chest and threatening retaliation, the real headache started when China and Russia chimed in. China, ever the stickler for international rules when it suits them, slammed the attack as a serious violation of the UN Charter. Now, you might expect some eye-rolling from the international community when China lectures on fairness, but this wasn't a throwaway comment. It marked an official stance and sent a signal about where China stood, not with the US.
Donald Trump has just posted that the United States military has hit 3 nuclear sites in Iran. It is official. The United States is currently at war. The United States has entered Israel's war against Iran. We have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace.
And then came Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's mouthpiece of choice for delivering snark. He didn't just dismiss the strike, he mocked it. Medvedev claimed the US had achieved little, pointing out that Iran's enrichment program was still alive and well. But he didn't stop there. Oh no, Medvedev took it further, teasing that other countries, gee, wonder which ones, could step in to supply Iran with nuclear weapons. That's not just criticism, that's Russia practically flexing in the mirror, daring Washington to do something. If Trump expected silence from Moscow, he clearly forgot his own uncanny ability to ruin relationships faster than a rigged Monopoly game. Meanwhile, Iran saw the global outrage as an opportunity to raise the stakes. Parliament reportedly discussed shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, which handles about 1/5 of the world's oil shipments. Imagine waking up to gas prices so high, you start rationing car rides like it's 1973. Even their talk of closing it kicked global markets into a mild panic, leaving economies bracing for what could come next. The sheer economic ripple of this one strike is massive. Not that Trump's been paying attention to numbers outside his poll ratings. Now, here's the kicker. Experts are warning of a potential anti-US bloc forming, an Avengers lineup of Iran, North Korea, China, and Russia, united not by mutual respect, but by a shared enemy. This isn't just a bad foreign policy day for Trump, it's shaping up to be a monumental shift. And guess what? It's all made in America. Trump's strike aimed to flex US power, but instead it handed America a global reality check. The Fordow nuclear site endured, Iran escalated its rhetoric, and China and Russia found new reasons to meddle. What was supposed to signal strength turned into an embarrassing reminder of failed strategy. Trump's bold move exposed cracks in US influence and emboldened adversaries to test just how much further they can push. So the question is simple, can the US afford more genius plans like this? With alliances crumbling and adversaries uniting, the fallout has only begun, and fixing it, let's just say, it's complicated.